technique. So gunslinger again, where am I going? Here, the punch, I can go in different directions. So smooth fakes, there's a whole series of shots you can do by making it look like you're doing something under to the leg. So I can do the double leg, and notice all of these start the same way. So if I'm doing a double leg shot, okay, if I want to do a molinet, boom, a little hot, should have been taller for me. I can do off to the outside leg. I can go to the offside leg. It's kind of risky, but it's fun to try. I can go, Santiago with it once. Sorry, Santiago. You know, it's fun. Is it risky? That one's a risky shot. Do it in practice. You never know. But all of these shots start off with that movement. They all start, I can go back cut. All of them start off with the same movement. Even a thrust, if I want to go, they're all starting off with that same movement of coming down here. And that's something to consider. When there are hitch fighters, in baseball there were hitch hitters and there were just straight hitters. So when I talk about a hitch hitter, more common in softball. Because in softball, the hitter provides the power. So in softball, you wind up and you swing. In baseball, the pitcher also supplies the power, so you don't have to wind up. Some of the big guys with strong arms, they can do that, but it's not as fast as just throwing. Okay. So consider that when you're throwing a shot. Don't always take that movement to set up your shot and throw it there. You should be able to throw most of your shots from your regular stance. Because if you have to reset your hand every time before you throw it, okay, now I know something about you. I'm not worried about certain things. He's not going to throw a shot until he pulls his sword back to throw a shot. Okay? When I'm in my normal stance, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I'm not a strong guy. I don't do the offside leg as much. You know, just straight snap. I usually have to set up for that shot to get it to come. Okay? But your stance should allow you to throw without retracting your arm or putting your arm in a different spot to throw correctly. If you have to do that, then your hand has to come higher. Because you have to be able just to quickly do that from whatever position you're in. There are times when we change our stance, but from here, throwing up high is going to be a big movement. I have to do something different. But in your regular fighting stance, I'm worried about playing defensive stance, you should be able to throw most of your shots. So as you develop your stance, or if you haven't, make sure you can do that. When I was younger, imagine that. Okay, so one of the times I was fighting somebody and the guy said, "Man, you're so much faster than me, I can't believe it." And it was just a trick, okay? So I come in, and I'm going to program my opponent. Come in, didn't like that, or I want them to think I didn't like that. But I let them see I come in and I set up, right? Next time, I come in, I set up, maybe I do just a jab like Greg does. This is Greg's jab. He does this for free. He's just so strong and this will kill you if you're not careful. Just like a jab will knock you out, but that's Greg's jab. I come in and I throw just to see what you're going to do. The next time I come in, it's... Notice I didn't plant myself before I looked. And the person said to me, "Oh my God, it's the fastest thing ever." No, it wasn't. I just used my momentum that was coming forward, and you thought I was going to stop like I did the two previous times. And now I just took that and it looks fast. If they want to think I'm fast, that's cool too. Offside head 2 or 3 times. So something you can do is you're coming in and you just go boom, stepping over the side. Boom, stepping over the side. This time I go like this. Remember I was talking about sword positioning? Notice where my sword hilt is. This looks like at C range I'm doing this, right? C range, just kind of flicking, making you honest, making you rotate with me. And then I go to the leg. So I've made them think that I'm going offside, offside, to the leg. Okay? And it's just a programming thing. And maybe don't do it 2 times before you do it. Maybe do it just once. Because if somebody's smart and you do it too many times, they're going to pick up on, oh, this guy's trying to bait me. And don't want to fall for that. This is where where I was going to do the practice time, but I think I'll leave this part for at the end for your exit ticket. I was going to have you practice the, well, we're going to do a show of hands. Okay, so you know the thing I told you about where you go like this and you leave it over so you can bounce back and do that? You want to practice that, or you want to leave that for the end and let you pick that as one of the options? Because we have another drill time for later. Now we can take a look at the clock and see what time it is. Acting like you're stepping over to the side and then hammering to the head or hammering to the base to the offside. That can be one of the ones you work on as part of your exit ticket. So, and if you want to, I want to talk a little about other styles because the same ideas of fakes, there are some things you can do with the other styles that will work. I'm going to show hands. Some people want us to talk about fakes or other styles, or is just sword and shield. Okay. Okay, so I need a. You can grab this one. I'd like the longer one. All right. So let's say we're fighting with spears or glaive on glaive. I would always. Okay, so I am not Taka. Okay, but I'm competitive with a glaive against glaive. Okay, I'm fine matching styles with everything. I have never been able to recreate what Taka does. Taka can do it against sword and shield, and so can Subadai, and so can Tom from North Shield. That's not me. Okay, but with spear fighting or glaive fighting. There's very few things that I do with spear, but the simplest one is half circle thrust. Okay, just that half boom. That's it. It's something simple. It distracts them. It makes them react, and it's the safest thing you can do with a spear because your spear is still out there. There's other things where you can push on spears like that, but when it comes to fakes, this movement right here is boom. Okay, and I don't aim for the face. I aim for the throat. Okay, and it sounds kind of brutal. But normally what happens is their spear will push it up into their face. Okay. So that's just something. Now with these other ones, let's say we're fighting glaive on glaive. I can fake thrust and chop. Like I said, I'm not fancy. Okay, these are things that I know work, and they work well. The other one we'll probably have to step outside to do a drill. And then there's the fake chop thrust. Okay. But the other one is a little bit more advanced, and this is my best shot, my best fake shot with a great sword. So let's step outside because I'm going to hit the ceiling if I don't. Go like this. Notice it's a perpendicular block. Okay? If we're standing like this and I go like this, that's what I'm natural tendencies. You're either going to go this way if they're throwing this way, or you're going to go like this, and that's what I want them to do. I'm basing this on natural tendencies. Okay? So let's say I do this shot right here. You do that block. Okay? Well, by the time we're moving very slow, if he kicks it all the way over here and I was faking, he's dead. Whenever you do your blocks with a great weapon, it's small blocks. Okay? Because if you go like, oh, hello, you're dead. Okay? You don't want to do that. So when you do that block, it should be a smaller motion, and that's something more experienced fighters do. So if you do that, and I go like this, from this position, I just come down parallel to the blade. It's very simple by pulling this up. It works on the other side as well. So choke up on your weapon a little bit higher. Okay. No, choke up. Choke up? Sorry, choke down, choke down. Yeah, baseball. So if I do this shot right here, while I do that, so if you were throwing a chop over here at me, I would do this. If you're throwing a chop over there on that side, I would probably do a small block like that. Notice that my angle is like this. I'm expecting, if someone's experienced, to do small angle blocks. Notice that I'm keeping my sword kind of charged so I can follow up. And that's what I'm expecting a good fighter to do. But I'm basing it on natural tendencies of a good fighter. So if I go like this, I follow it parallel down. If I go like this, and he kicks it over, I follow it parallel down. That's the basics. I don't do a lot of fancy stuff. There's Paula Bellatrix who does all that sticky hand. The idea is you push down, release, and then throw where you were pushing, or you push up, release, their body commits, and then you throw high. I'm not a big, strong person. I've never spent enough time to get good at that. But these things work for me. So, and if you're using a glaive or a greatsword, it doesn't matter. It's the same concept, just a little bit farther away. So if I go here, I can kick it over and block down. If I do it over here, well, that would be dead. If it was a real, remember, when you're throwing a shot, a fake, you have to assume that the person is going to block it because they know that if they didn't block it, they would die. So when you're selling this, if I go like this and you do that block you just did, boom, you're dead. So that would not be a good block. Their block would be to kick.
I was actually going to go like that. Yeah.
That's interesting. But are you flexible enough, and can you move fast enough to bring that up like that? I've never done that. So then again, I'm going to be an A fighter like this. I'm going to be a little bit farther. So I would go
this way.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, and what I was saying before about the fake hack, boom, boom, or you can say the fake thrust, which is right to there. Because when you thrust,
same thing with the greatsword.
yeah, greatsword blade doesn't make a difference. So if I thrust, usually they'll lock low, and then you can actually use body fakes with this a little bit. So I can go. Those little movements, remember, if they see your body drop, you're not going to blind them. They're going to see everything you do, but you're relying on their natural tendency to go back into guard and get in the guard, do the proper thing. So that's what's that? Yeah.
He incorporates a lot of fakes into his plays,
And he fights with primarily that weapon because of his shoulder. He used to be a sword and shield fighter. You know, I'm a sword and shield fighter and a spear fighter. And if you want to match my weapon styles, I'll be happy to. You know, in melee, I'm a spear fighter. So I'm not really worried about hacking somebody with a sword or a shield in melee. So.
Is if you want to learn feints and fakes from
Maroon or
play
Thomas or
with greatsword, Haroon is really good at that.
And I'm saying, if like Taka, what he can do against sword and shield, I cannot recreate that. He's taught me, and I can fight him well with it, and I can do some. If the guy is really slow moving, yeah, I can do it. But when I fight somebody who's quick on their feet, it just doesn't work for me when I fight with the great weapons against sword and shield. So against the same weapon, I'm fine with it. But if you were coming with your sword and shield and I had this, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable. I'd rather if I had a couple shield men to my side and I had this, I'm happy, you know. But that's not my forte. So, all right. At war, your spear is to thrust and kill. If you're doing a spear duel, go ahead, knock yourself out. But remember, you're fighting spear war. Don't do what I just said. Don't do those half circles. Just thrust. Okay? You'll get yourself killed. All right, best practices. Things you have to think about. When I went to a smaller shield, my fakes got better. Doesn't mean you can't use them. Remember I said that I think there's a fake for everyone. You just have to adjust it for you. Some of these things, if I'm fighting with a big shield, my elbow is going to catch. And I just noticed this when I made a new shield. I haven't finished it yet. But I noticed some of the things because it's a little bit rounder, a softer curve to the top. And I'm hitting my sword as I go out. So I'm going to take a lot of pellet work to learn how to fight with some of my shots. How big is their shield? And just because their shield's big is not bad, because if their shield's big, they're more likely to blind themselves. Okay, so that's something to remember. Okay, when you're fighting somebody who's got way more experience than you, some of these fakes, it's better just to get inside and do the A-range fakes, which are just your pump fakes and things like that, or just throw shots. You know, until you've had a chance to practice these shots and feel competent with them, you're basically, you know, just flailing. So, like I said, these are advanced moves, and you have to think about it that way. How big must your fake be to sell it? You know, you need to make sure you have some feedback in regards to that. Videotape yourself. Look at those things. Step or sword. So that there's a move you can do with the shot where you do that Moulinet to the leg type thing. And I can do a pump fake up here, and I can drop and rise and throw. Okay. I can also do it, and it's a little bit different, and it may make the difference. You know, boom. And as I'm rising home, and I didn't want to talk about that up there, but it is a legitimate shot. So when you initiate the shot, are you initiating the shot as you're rising? Are you initiating the shot as you're dropping? Those are all things that you'll take into consideration when you start to develop some of your incorporating space. Overusing it, pump fakes, okay, well, you know, this is just basically sitting there and, you know, waiting to get hit. Don't overuse it, okay? After somebody attacks you, so we are taught since day one, after you do something, to get into guard. That's when you're most vulnerable. Okay? Tara, come on up here. All right? So I want you to just pretend you're attacking me with some shots and you have shields, and I turtle up and just do a slow flurry at you, right? And then after your slow flurry, slowly, we're going half speed. move back into guard. So let's say it didn't work. So you come in, throw some shot. Boom, I'm blocking. He realizes it's no good. Pump fake. Boom. Because we're taught since day one, get back in guard, get back in guard. I'm counting on you to have that ingrained in you. And after you throw that flurry of shots and it hasn't worked, as you're getting back into that position, because you're like, this hasn't worked, I'm going to start thinking about something else, and you're thinking about what you're doing, getting back into guard, simple body pump fake can make that person go, whoa, I'm trying to get, they're going to freak out, and that's a free shot to the leg or a free shot to the head. So think about that when you're turtling up or trying to play defensive. It's basically waiting on your opponent to make a mistake. So, and again, how many moves is the 2+1 rule? Is don't overthink it. I was fighting Thorsten one time in practice, and we were doing all these crazy things, and he just goes, and hits me in the head. And I'm like, hey, I thought we had an understanding today, and the next thing I did was we went in guard, and I went right back at him. And the basics are the basics for a reason, because they work. Right? So don't abandon the basics ever. Practicing. Here's a 14th century image of this knight hitting the bell, hitting the stakes. And I was saying before about making the bell virtual. When I go to hit the bell, and I love hitting the bell, I'm not just standing in C range or B range. I am practicing. If you haven't done this, you need to start doing it. I am practicing. I took kind of a combination of Vietnamese, Asian martial art. It's called Kung Fu. And if you've done any Asian martial arts, they say if you do your kata 1,000 times, you start to see your opponent. If you do your kata 10,000 times, other people see your opponent. If you do it enough, you can start to visualize where you need to be and what that person might be doing, so that when you get to the point where when you're in where you can land a shot, you're in the right place. So I'll practice doing, but I'm starting out back here. I'm past C range, because we have to start beyond C range when we start fighting. You're supposed to, when they say lay on, I never start a fight at A, B, or C range. Okay? I always start a fight way beyond C range. And if you are starting a fight, now if you're doing a home game, then sorry, you're in range. That's the rule. So, that's something. Mirrors. This is a picture of where I practice my bell. If it comes up, Bernice. Like I said, it does this all the time. How do I get this to?
Oh, it just flashed. Oh.
There it is. So in the gym where I go, it's one of those 24-hour places, because I can't hit the bell in my backyard because my neighbors would complain. I can't hit the bell in the garage because there's no room anymore. But this place I go to, there's this small yoga room, and they let me put this thing in there. And you'll notice the mirror in the background right there. And I sit there and I watch myself, and I get instant feedback. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. That is not going to fool anybody. All right? Or my footwork, I'm taking too many steps. And Brano spoke about this, not too many steps, too big of steps. Don't take too big of steps until you're already in tight to create that opportunity. Small steps are what matter. Okay? And if you're taking your steps are too big, now if you're fighting a glaive, sometimes you might have to take a big step. But you want to take those small steps, and then when you're in tight, you can take a big step to create angle. But if you're taking a big step, now I can't go that way. Okay? If I take a step here, I can go that way now. Very quickly, very easily. Yes?
The mirror is a great idea. What I suggest if people don't have a mirror to look at is you could use sliding glass doors, you could use even a car, because some cars are highly polished.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get back to where we were. And this is a quote from Vegetius, who wrote De Res Militaria. And he said, no man has ever distinguished, he said it in Latin, of course, no man has ever distinguished himself as invincible either in the arena or the campus, the battlefield or the tournament, was not carefully trained and instructed at the stakes. If you're not hitting the bell, and if you're practicing 3 times a week, that's your people are your bell. But we're all limited in how much time we have to practice. So I am a Pell believer. I would not be a decent fighter if I didn't hit the bell. And if you don't have a Pell, get one somehow. You have to have a Pell if you want to be a good fighter. If you're okay with going out and just being a good fighter and wearing your, your colors that you designed and you love them and those things, that's cool too. I get to do that as well, but I get to do it while I'm hopefully winning. Because if winning is just for fun, let me win. Okay? It's a challenge, let's see. I don't want to think about this. Like I was saying before, I have a practice sheet that I keep and I update, and I look at this sometimes, and I have it on my phone. I look at it before I go to my telepractice to say, oh, I couldn't tell you the last time I threw a scorpion. Last time I fought, I threw a scorpion because I hadn't thrown one. I was looking over my list. We sometimes, I can't remember who said it one time, but I've forgotten more about fighting than someone who's been fighting for 3 years. And sometimes I wonder if that's accurate, because once you've been fighting, you hear all these techniques and these ideas, and it starts to, you start to realize that it's sometimes hard to remember all those different shots.
Hey, Grace, just for the people watching this video, how many pages do you have there?
No, I made some extra. I made some. It's a front and back.
Okay, just one. Okay.
Now, what I did was, just like all these people that have a manual, this is going to be long. This is only like taking 1/3 of it. If you ever tried to explain fighting to somebody without using your hands, it's really difficult. To put it into words, it's very difficult. So to me, I've been trying to take my little key and put it into words, and that's what this is right here. But I haven't finished it yet. It takes time. Let's see. One of my early formative years, and even now, when I have ever been given the opportunity to train and hit the Pell with someone who is experienced, it's like hitting the Pell 50 times by yourself. When you can have somebody, a knight or an experienced fighter, watch you, who's had success, watch you hit the Pell. When you're watching when you're fighting is one thing, but even at Pell practice, don't get me wrong, it's better to hit the Pell than not to. And that's why I have mirrors and things like that. But having a knight or someone who's a good fighter, has success, watch you do things. The little nuances they pick up on that they can give you feedback on make a big difference. And I'll be honest, all those times I hit the Pell with Llewellyn and Baldar and Terrell and Solomon and Taka, having them to give me feedback made a huge difference. So if you're hitting the Pell on your own without feedback, your improvement gains are going to be limited. So it's something to remember. The last thing we're going to do is on the next slide, I'm going to list some of the things I went over today, and I want you to pick one of them, and we'll take about maybe 15 minutes, 7.5 minutes each, some math, for you to pick one of them on there that you want to share with a partner up, and like if you were talking to somebody back at your practice, this is what you would say, and let them see if you can, if it was clear, because if you can't explain to somebody else, maybe you don't quite understand it yourself. All right? So here's the list of some things. You can pick whatever you want. And then I have, after this, I have a short survey I want you to fill out, and then we're going. So anyway, here's some of the list of the things we spoke about. It can be something small. It can be something more complex, but it's up to you. Pick one of those things, and I think I'm going to lower this just a tad. Lower the sail a little bit. You can do it in here, you can do it outside. I'm going to give you about maybe 15 minutes, and then we'll come back in. I've got one final slide and then a quick survey for you to fill out. So, go ahead and pick your item and then pick your partner. And if you want to come up and look at the list closer, because I can't see it from where you're sitting, and hopefully you have good eyes. So it's your choice. There's different ways to do it, but if you only do one thing, you're going to lose eventually. Okay? And I do think, I say this, I think there's a fake for everyone, even if it's just a simple drop and do that body fake. And remember, there's times when different fakes work better. When you're in tight, hand pumps work. When you're in tight, you can keep your hand up high and do that body fake, and your hand is still in a safe place where you can still do things. Okay? There's nothing glorious about winning. Anyone can do it. So if you want to get better, you got to train. So I'm not saying train like me all the time, because there's different ways to get to where you want to be. But I just like hitting the Pell. So I like the Pell too much. And that's it. So thank you all very much. I have a survey with some pencils for you to share. One of the ways you can do it is if you're far away. This is something I wanted to talk about, but I forgot. If you're far away, you can do stick your sword out far, okay? And then to do this shot back down to the leg is, it's a big movement. I was watching for Brand, some of the things he does. And he does this one shot where he goes boom, and then he brings it down. You can get the same results. I mean, sometimes you want to make the person who's you farther away to sell it, you have to stick your hand out. But if you're at maybe just B.5 range, you know, boom, that's faster than that. This is much faster. Okay, so hand positioning, sword positioning again. If I stick my sword all the way out, it's going to be a longer development to the molinet and the outside leg. If I do this, I can bring it back much faster. So how far you extend your sword in the face is something to consider when you're thinking about transitioning to where the strike is intended to be. If you stick your sword too far out, it's going to be a longer transition. If you stick your sword left, shorter distance out, it's faster. That's something. Hand, wrist, sword.